Years are symbolic, something created to help us keep track of our lives. But humans are such intense beings that we turned the time blocks into a huge celebration, a sign of change, a candle of hope. Every year, we're socially coerced into this ritual powered by the shared belief that when the clock strikes 12, our souls will be cleansed, our time restored, and the odds will finally be in our favor. Before the countdown begins, we become hopeful and start dreaming again. We write down new goals, promise to be better people, and expect to blossom and thrive despite any challenge ahead. But by March, most people are already worn out. In 2023, I was in pieces by 10 a.m. on January 1st. I spent the next 365 days doing my best to reassemble what was left of me while striving for growth. But guess what? Things did get better. I learned more about how to set myself up for success, and by success I do not mean getting everything I want, but making things happen despite of the challenges that will inevitably appear. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I know what the hell I'm doing on this earth, because I still freeze out sometimes, and I'm constantly falling into existential crisis. But there are things that have worked for me in the past year or so that I believe could help other people. So I want to share them with you. Growing up, I got the message loud and clear that expressing feelings means being weak. Naturally, I ran in the opposite direction and did my best to ignore and hide my emotions, to a point where I never learned to recognize or deal with my feelings in a healthy way. Years of hardcore depression and anxiety later, I realized that I had no choice but to change. It took a lot of work to accept and get better at feeling and expressing myself, and I'm still learning. But the thing is, you can't outrun your emotions. They catch up sooner rather than later, and if you're actively trying to avoid or bury them, they will come out in the ugliest, most painful ways. So be brave, even if it hurts, especially when it hurts. Point 2 is that you can't control the external world, only your reactions to it. And I know it's pretty cliche, I think. But I'm just now watching The Walking Dead, like 10 years after the show began. And that's such a great metaphor for how you can control the external world. Because let's face it, a zombie apocalypse is the worst thing that could happen. And no one would react to it in the same way. Because we're different and we have different backgrounds and different ways to signify things. This year, when something goes wrong, don't dwell much on why you couldn't avoid it. Just learn from it, get up, and decide what to do with it. That's really the only thing you can do. Point 3 is break long-term goals into smaller tasks. And I know that's also something we hear every day, and we think it's obvious, but it's not so obvious in our daily lives. Because whenever I start a new project, I always aim for the ultimate achievement, like the final goal, the thing that will keep me working for 16 hours straight, for days or weeks. However, that initial excitement wears out. Motivation evaporates with time, and I'm left with another unfinished project. So achieving long-term goals can be difficult, especially if you're a do or die kind of person. The adrenaline gets us started, but it doesn't help us stay for the long run. Smaller steps can make big objectives feel less overwhelming, allowing you to plan better, track progress, and adapt as needed. Then each task builds momentum, reducing procrastination and encouraging consistent effort. So if you're starting this year with a big goal in mind, break it into several small tasks that will compound as wins for the long term. So you want to write a book, focus on getting the first sentence out by tomorrow. Focus on finishing the first chapter by the end of the month or the end of the week. Now, point 4, it's kind of a continuation of the last one. It's about keeping track of small achievements. So let's say you break a huge goal into several small tasks. But then you focus so much into getting to the finish line that you forget to celebrate many wins along the way. This is the recipe for disaster, the way for dissatisfaction. Make sure you acknowledge and salute every step of the way. This will give you more dopamine and keep you engaged with the project for longer. Number 5 is to show up for yourself, especially when you don't want to. One thing common between all high-performing athletes is discipline. No matter how bad they feel or what happens in their lives, they keep going, not because they are feeling like it or because they're excited about it, but because they know they have to. They have this bigger goal that is directing them. So I don't mean to ignore your feelings or neglect your health. I mean being consistent and giving your best at what needs to be done, because you know that it is important enough. So if you have to get up at 6 a.m. to work on a project, but you feel like shit today, get up and work on that project while feeling like shit. Chances are it will distract you and it will make you feel better about yourself. I know this isn't easy. Trust me, this has been one of the hardest ones for me to follow through. And I have to constantly remind myself to get back and keep going, but it is worth it. Point 6, make time to play. I want you to think about it. When was the last time you actually had fun and felt completely in the moment? One thing we gotta really get into our minds is that playing isn't just for kids. It's something we all need. And it helps us feel less stressed, get more creative, unwind, and forget about life's pressures for a bit. If you look at kids that play a lot, they're more imaginative. They have an easier time connecting with people, and they're happier overall. Play isn't a waste of time. It's not slacking off. It's one of the healthiest, most human things we can do for ourselves. So let's allow ourselves to laugh, to experiment, to make mistakes, just for the fun of it. You don't need permission to play, but if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. And that brings us to the last but not least important topic of this conversation. Allow yourself to do nothing sometimes. Yeah, we're constantly told to keep moving, to stay busy, to make every moment count. But what if doing nothing was the most valuable thing you could do for yourself? Doing nothing creates space for clarity, creativity, and calm to come back into your lives. And here's the beauty of it. Doing nothing can be as simple as staring out the window, lying on the couch, or sitting quietly with a cup of tea. To me, this is the hardest thing to do. Because I got older, I grew serious and preoccupied, always looking at the next step, living like everything is a job you have to finish. And when I end something, I jump right into the next big commitment. When I can't, I feel miserable and lost, like I don't deserve some time off. At first, it might feel strange or even uncomfortable, but over time you start to notice the benefits. Because sometimes the most productive thing you can do is do nothing at all. Those were the 7 rules that I'll keep in my life for 2025, and I hope some of them, any of them, can help you too. I think these are really important things that we often look over. We don't necessarily give them the importance that they should have. I want to be more mindful this year. I want to be more focused on the things that I want to, the things that are good for me. So yeah, that's it. If you think this could help someone, don't forget to click on the like button and share with your important person. And I see you next time.